One of my childhood heroes, Jacques Cousteau, once said, "We forget that the water cycle and the life cycle are one." Connecting the lives of my Idaho students with their place in the global watershed is the reason why I am excited to participate in a globally networked curriculum project. Any given weekend of the year, you can find me exploring local ecosystems with a herd of teenagers close behind me. My guiding pedagogy has always been that in order for my students to understand science, they need to taste it, touch it, smell it, and roll around in it. My students are seventh graders from a semi-rural area. Due to socioeconomic circumstances and language barriers, they do not have a lot of background experiences with water ecosystems. We are looking for diverse partners from other watersheds to share those experiences with us. We want to find out what is happening in watersheds outside of our state and even our country. Our students will learn to evaluate biotic and abiotic indicators of water quality to assess the health of a watershed. Counting macroinvertebrates and testing for pH, turbidity, and phosphate levels using tools like dip nets and sucky discs will help us to understand how clean our water really is. We want to find out how our personal experiences living in our local watershed are similar to the experiences of students residing in your watershed. Idaho is a long way from the Pacific Ocean, but we will use a combination of our experiences to explain how people living in Idaho are connected to the global ocean system. Creating 21st century thinkers is a part of our job as an educator. So this project will challenge our kids to be critical thinkers and problem solvers. Our students will use evidence from their fieldwork to support a conclusion about the health of each of our local watersheds and give suggestions for how to improve or maintain it. Middle school students love to collaborate and share their knowledge. Our young scientists will produce an explanation of our watershed data to share with the students from our partner watersheds using collaborative tools like Google Drive and Skype. These digital tools will let our kids work together just like real scientists do in order to share data and solve problems. It is important for our students to see themselves as scientists and not just to read and learn about other people doing science. The purpose of this project is to help them dip their toes into the processes which real scientists all over the world do every day. Our kids can become citizen scientists. Our learning intentions for this project will be supported by state and national standards. We will be working with models of the water cycle and talking about the roles that gravity and the sun's energy both play in moving water through a watershed. We will also be using scientific principles to monitor and minimize human impact on those environments. Our project will consist of 6 main tasks. The first 2 will be face-to-face in our local watershed. We will tap into community resources like our nearby wildlife refuge to learn about our watershed. Then we will learn about biotic and abiotic indicators and how to test for them. Our next set of tasks is to look outside of our own watershed and meet up with our global partners. We hope to find students who have had different experiences than we have with water resources. Local states like Washington and states from far away like Louisiana would give us a well-rounded perspective. Digital communication tools like Skype will help us get to know each other. Since our country is not the only country that needs to think about how the global hydrosphere affects our lives, we would love to find partners outside of our country as well. Working with students in Ghana or Senegal would help us get a better understanding of how we are connected to water. Then we move on to the fieldwork tasks. Our class will take our knowledge of biotic and abiotic water quality testing out into the watershed and collect some authentic data. Hopefully, the only thing that will get wet is our clipboard. Our final tasks will involve sharing our results with people who can make a difference. We will create Google slide presentations to make a claim about the health of our local watersheds, and we will use evidence from our field tests to support them. Another Skype session with our global partners will let us compare, critique, analyze, and evaluate each other's efforts in a collaborative manner. Each class will identify a local agency or community organization that might be interested in our presentations, and we will take our show on the road. Hearing about water quality issues from our students will be a good motivator for local policymakers to take action on our suggestions, or better yet, to help us take action on our own work. Students' knowledge of the biotic and abiotic indicators will be assessed in a variety of ways. Kahoot software will let the kids test their own knowledge of the factors. A gallery walk of student graphs after the data collection is done We'll let students use sticky notes to give each other feedback. The Google slideshows will serve as a summative assessment of what the students have learned. Individual journaling and reflection will help students to understand their connections to their watershed and to the Pacific Ocean. Padlet software will let them give each other feedback on these connections. Graphic note-taking will be an innovative way to see if they can really outline how their actions in Idaho matter to the global watershed. Mind Maple will let our kids make a mind map of their conclusion and supporting evidence in order to explore the connections between their data and the questions that they are trying to answer about watershed health. Google Drive will let students share those maps for feedback from other classes of watershed scientists and will eventually help us to share our slide presentations about the data as well. Presentation rubrics will help us to make sure that each member of our class groups are participating and learning from this citizen science experience. Using categories like attitude, contribution, use of class time, and cooperation, students can rate themselves and their peers periodically throughout the project, and the instructors can do a summative rating as well. Are you interested in getting your feet wet with this type of place-based learning collaboration? Join me in helping our students learn from each other about why watersheds are so important and how their actions connect them to all of the living things in our global ecosystem through water.